1993. Chris Paul is expected to be back in the lineup for the Suns, while on the other sideline, Kawhi Leonard will be out yet again for the Clippers, who are facing their third straight 0-2 series deficit. They've been there before, and it's worked out. But Shannon, who wins Game 3 tonight?
Skip, if the reports are true that Chris Paul's going to play in Game 3.
I believe they're true.
I'm going to take the Suns.
Okay.
Wow. I love what he brings, Skip. People don't realize how well Chris Paul is playing. He was 25-10 against the Nuggets, scored 37 in his last game. So he was starting to play extremely, extremely well, as good as we've seen Chris Paul play in the playoffs. So for me, the calm that he's going to bring, the leadership that he's going to bring, now it slides Devin Booker back into his natural position. Devin Booker does not have to worry about playmaking. He has a guy now in Chris Paul. He can do the playmaking. Now, if Chris Paul goes to the bench, you have Cameron Payne who can do the playmaking. So now Book gets to do what Book does really well. Put the ball in the basket at a very, very high level. Skip, now we're going to run him off screens. Now they do a great job of running him off multiple screens, getting him open because he didn't have to worry about playmaking. He didn't have to worry about having the ball. So now I just try to find a way to get open. They're going to pick after pick after pick. So I like that. The question that I always have when a guy's missed, say, a week, 14 days, and how much cardio has he been doing, Skip? Because the thing that I worry about when a guy that hadn't been doing cardio in a while, he comes out there, tries to overdo it, muscle gets fatigued, that's when you get a tweak. So I think Monty Williams is going to be very, very careful of Chris Paul's minutes tonight. It's like, okay, let's see how this thing goes. I don't want him to overtax himself. Mm-hmm. Cameron Payne is playing really, really well. So we can do that. So if Chris Paul plays, and there's no reason that I guess we shouldn't believe that he is going to play, I'm going to take the Suns in a very, very close ball game. But it's not going to be easy. And I know the Clippers have been down twice in this situation, but both of those times they've had Kawhi. This is a different animal because you don't have Kawhi. And I believe the Suns are better than both Utah and Dallas, which are the two previous teams that had them down 0-2. So I'm going to take the Suns in a very, very close ball game. But I know the Clippers will be ready. Ty Lue will tinker with that lineup a little more.
Yep.
He'll have those guys playing feisty, hungry basketball because he knows, Skip, you go down 0-3, it's over. You're not beating this team 4 times.
No. Okay. I preface my remarks by saying the Suns, according to Fox Bet, are a 1-point favorite tonight at Staples Center here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yesterday, you gave me 2 points for, what did we say?
2 cases.
2 cases of Diet Mountain Dew.
Yep.
I am here to tell you I now want 0 points.
Oh!
I want 0.
Look at you talking all big.
Because the time has arrived for me to have the courage of my convictions.
Look at you!
I have believed in the Clippers from the start of the season. I've said they're going to the finals. I think they're going to win the finals. Obviously, I need Kawhi Leonard to do that, and I don't have him, and I'm not going to have him because he's gone for the playoffs. But I do believe in them against the Suns enough that I do believe with all my heart and soul and conviction that they will win Game 3 at Staples tonight, even though they're completely up against it because they're up against it because, as I told you yesterday, the first round against Dallas, games 3 and 4, obviously, were at Dallas. And on a Friday night, they fell behind 30-11 to the Dallas Mavericks before a crazed crowd at American Airlines Arena. And they fought and scraped and scratched and clawed back into that game. And they won that game going away.
They did.
And then they won the next one in a landslide, game 4 at Dallas to come home 2-all. The point was they had Kawhi for both those games, as you said. Utah, they're down 0-2, but at least they got to come back to Staples for those 2 games, games 3 and 4, and obviously they had Kawhi Leonard for both those games. If I take 3 and 4 Dallas, 3 and 4 Utah, and I add them all up, Kawhi Leonard averaged 33 points and 9 rebounds in those 4 games, and I don't have an ounce of that.
Exactly.
Not an ounce of that. I got a Paul George who clearly is going to have to fight his demons tonight.
This man said he got Paul George.
I got Paul George as my solo star tonight. My superstar, who used to be my 1A, my complimentary star, has to assume the role of the man tonight, fighting the demons of missing 2 late free throws. at Phoenix that the world decided lost the game.
Can I ask you a question, Skip? Let's
Yes.
just say, for the sake of argument, when Michael was alive, that Jackson was on tour, and they say Michael has a sore throat, but we still have Marlon and Jackie. How many people you think showing up?
Paul George is much better than Marlon and Jackie
No, he ain't.
ever
No, he
thought
ain't.
about
No,
being.
he ain't. No, he back up. He back up. He back up.
They were just backup singers. You know it, and I know it.
Jermaine had some good hits, though.
He was better, but you didn't say Jermaine. You went to the bottom, right? Okay, so Paul George is better than that because Paul George is a 7-time All-Star, I'm going to remind
Yes.
you, and a 4-time All-Defense.
Yes.
And he's led this league in steals before, and he shot a ton of free throws in his time. Since he entered the league, he shot the 6th most free throws in the league in the playoffs, okay? So I'll take it. It's not like he hasn't done this before, and he was the man in Indiana.
That's why I picked him to crumble, because you're exactly right. He's done that before, which is Buck.
I believe he's grown up and toughened up right before your very eyes. I've told you that all year long. I think he turned it around after the bubble trouble that he went through. He melted down in the bubble. He got ridiculed for it. And I think because Ty Lue helped him and Chauncey Billups helped him fight through that, he will rise and shine and be an all-star tonight. I'm not going to say he's the star. In that game, he shot 3 of 11. He gave them nothing from 3. And yet they were the best in percentage-wise 3-point shooting team in the league. They need him to make 4 or 5 threes tonight because that fuels them. That feeds the beast.
But they were good, even though he didn't contribute. They were good from the 3.
Okay, well, he's their 3rd best player. So if you don't have your 1st best, you got your 2nd best and your 3rd best, and you have an emerging, I don't know if I want to go to star, but an emerging force in this league is Terrence Mann.
Right.
What's not to love about this kid? What have you seen wrong from this kid?
No, he's played unbelievable.
All he does is the bigger the moment, the brighter the spotlight. He's like, give me the ball and get out of my way.
You know who's the most important guy for you guys tonight? Reggie Jackson.
He can light it up.
Because
We've
he's
seen
the
him
guy,
do it
Skip,
before.
every time you guys start to fall behind or the game starts to slip, what does he do? It's 3 after 3 after 3 that he makes, or he drives the basketball. He's going to be your most important, not Paul George. Now, I'm not saying Paul George doesn't need to play well, because he does. But it's been Reggie Jackson. When you look at it, like that game in Utah that you ended up losing, it was Reggie Jackson that got you back in it.
Okay. What have I told you about him from the start? I will never forget the fateful game 4 at Memphis in 2014 when they were about to go down 3-1 to Memphis, featuring Gasol and Zach Randolph and Conley. That was a loaded team.
Yeah.
And it was Kevin Durant, obviously, and Russell Westbrook, who had the 2 combined worst nights they've ever had together in a playoff game.
Right.
And this kid, Reggie Jackson, from Boston College, came out of the blue, a Sam Presti special. He scored 32 that night, and they won by 3 in overtime, thanks only to him. He's highly capable of doing that. This team is highly capable. It's highly resilient. In fact, the Hawks and the Clippers remind me a little bit of each other because there's something going on with both of them where it's that cliche refuse to lose stuff where they just think they're going to make a couple of shots to get back in the game. And they got back in both game 1 and game 2 at Phoenix.
But what you add, when you add Chris Paul back to the mix, you add an all-NBA defensive player. You bring a guy back in that's going to be he'll probably be guarding. They'll probably put Book on on Reggie Jackson,
Yep.
and they'll slide CP3 to Patrick Beverly. Because you don't want him exhausting himself chasing Patrick Beverly all over the court. Reggie Jackson all over the court. Patrick Beverly is not the offensive threat. And then you take your guy and put him on a guy that you're not really worried about from an offensive standpoint. So that's another thing that you get back. You get Chris Paul. You know Chris Paul has led the league in steals more than Paul George.
Well, he has.
And he's the calm.